Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Marc and Max from Woodpecker Games. These two game designers have built the immersive cyberpunk world of Nanolith. Their first game in this world launches on Kickstarter next week. Marc, Max, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi. Very good. Yeah,
very good. We're happy to hear.
Yes, we're very happy to be here.
Yeah.
So, guys, I mean, we're going to get into this game in a second. I know you haven't launched yet on Kickstarter, but what we'll do is we'll provide links to people to check out the game and your website leading into this campaign next week. It looks super cool. The artwork is amazing. But before we get into that, as you guys know, I love to get into people's histories, and you guys have got some really interesting histories that I want to kind of just dabble with. So first, let me start with Marc. Am I correct? You're an opera singer?
Yeah, actually, this is a job I do quite a lot. Yeah.
And so you're an opera singer. You're into theater. You run, I believe, a theater company. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, what's that all about?
Yeah, sure. So normally, if you get an opera singer in Germany, you just study opera singing. So there's a very vivid like opera company infrastructure in Germany, like a lot of houses, a lot of theaters, and a lot of people work professionally as singers.
Yep.
And you have to study for a few years, and then you just like get into solo parts for the theater, or you're doing a lot of choir singing. You have like freelance projects, and that's the thing I do for a living, like the last 10 years.
That is super cool. I've only actually talked to one other game designer that was actually in the same thing, was in opera.
But you already met one, so congrats. I mean, there are not so many people.
It's not so unique anymore now that I've met two.
It's fine. I don't need to be unique. I mean, if I would really describe my job now, because like it changed quite a lot a few years ago, I would just say I'm an artist. So I do different things, like do different art projects. Singing, theater making is part of it, but I'm also like quite active as a writer. So I do libretti, I do poems for Liedzyklen, so musical kind of poetic and stuff writing and drama writing. And then I have a children's literature project in which I do children's literature as well. And I'm writing for like publishers for their new theater productions, and I organize myself as well and sing as a soloist in this production. So I do all the stuff. I do also music videos and like everything you can do as an artist, like produce awesome artistical content.
Oh, super
and
cool.
Mostly theater and music stuff, but now like as well Nanolith, because I always played like games like super hard and wanted to do something like this forever.
So is it like even in just like stories, I guess, too, right? So even outside of music, are you writing like stories and plays and things
exactly.
like that? Yeah.
I write prose, like fictional prose, in different genres. Like I always did like fantasy literature for myself, like, and also for the campaigns I did as a pen and paper like guy, yeah. But like since a few years, I'm also doing it like for a living, like get paid for it. People are ordering it, or I just publish my own stuff, which I sell via the internet, via the websites. And I also get asked from people like to write something for them, publishers or stuff. Yeah.
Wow. It always amazes me, or I guess it doesn't amaze me anymore, that people will find ways to take creativity in their lives, and then they channel this as almost just kind of one further output for that, right? So whether it be someone who's working in the tech industry, right, but they've got these creative ideas that they can't necessarily get out
Totally
in their
get the point,
day job. What they'll do is they'll use like the board game industry to kind of focus that creative channel, where you have kind of, I mean, you're living as a creative channel, you've still found a way to say,
the only thing I do.
Yeah, I'm going to but channel this over here. And so how do you separate those things? Do you find that, like everybody's job, I find typically when you get home, you want to do something different than what your day job is?
No,
right?
there is no difference. Like there's no definition of like working and living. It's just like the same thing. And I love being a theater. For example, this theater thing is like super crazy, because the lifestyle a lot of people at the theater have is like really awesome. Like there's a lot of partying. It's awesome stuff on the theater as well. Like there's happening so much emotional stuff. And then you go out like with a lot of adrenaline and a lot of people just wanting to stay outside. It's a really nice kind of living as well. So I wouldn't say like board games is my escape from this kind of living. It's just something different. I love to work from home, and I love to be like alone as well for myself. And I like to do this solo writing with myself.
Like an extension, awesome. Yeah. And then Max, you were saying when I was looking at your bio, you guys actually got into like 3D terrain modeling and things like that for other games. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It was like that I told you that I built playgrounds for childs. I planned them and built them with childs, and building is one of my nature. I like to build things, and I like to also, like Mark, I play a lot of games.
Absolutely same, artist from heart.
Yeah, and then I started to think that I create some terrain stuff for games like Warhammer, Star Wars Legion. And the first time I do that for myself at home and make some Instagram pictures, and try to start a small shop that was called Wasabi Wargames. And do that a little bit closer in the first thing. And then two things happen. First things, I meet Fabien, the other guy.
Yeah, we have three partners in Woodpecker Games. Yeah.
I meet Fabien, and Fabien and I, he say, come, let us make this, let us make a company. We grow a little up, and we do a lot of them. But then some things happen. I get a message on Facebook from a guy called Michael Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Michael Gordon from the Warhammer YouTube channel. Do you want to play Star Wars Legion with me? And I say, you're based in the USA. No, I'm living in Stuttgart. I'm in the US Army.
That's okay.
I say, what? Yeah, come to me. I love your terrain. We promote you. And I said, yeah, of course. And it was 5 minutes from my home ago. He lives there. He has the biggest channel in the whole world. Living.
This is the biggest channel in the whole world.
Yeah, for Star Wars Legion. Yeah.
Okay.
Now he stopped the channel, but when Star Wars Legion grows up, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I come to in and I play. I show him my terrain. We got really good friends. I enjoy the time with Michael. Was really awesome. We make a campaign, make all the videos on YouTube, playing games, show terrain, and the shop explode. The people like my terrain. They like the stuff I designed. I designed some controlling boards for tracking the missions and the objectives. I do this for the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and the people like them. And yeah, it comes close. And sometimes, no, it was a thing that was always in the bottom of my heart. At the beginning, when I was the first time playing Final Fantasy IX, and I see the intro scene that the airship goes into Limblum. I don't know, you know the scene from the Final Fantasy IX from the PlayStation 1. And when I see, as a young child, when I see this scene, I don't know why, I realize and I say to myself, one time in my life, I want to make I want to make games. That's what I want to do, making games. It was clearly when I see that, but I put this long in my bottle, and there comes a lot of other things in the life, study and making the playgrounds and starting with the terrain.
Yeah.
But sometimes this feeling comes back again from the bottom of my heart, and
then you were starting up like with Nanolith, didn't you? Like you were inventing the name.
Yeah,
the first one was the name, the Nanolith. Yeah. He was like thinking about the monolith all the time. Cool word.
Yeah.
Hey, it's very small. Like, how about Nanolith?
So how did you guys meet? So you've got one guy that's into like building schoolyards, the other guy that's in the theater.
So we are both like very avid Infinity players.
Yeah, WhatsApp. He comes back to Stuttgart, sent a message. I need players in Stuttgart for Infinity.
Yeah, exactly.
Infinity from
There's in Germany like a very avid like Infinity gamers connection, and we are playing both these games very avidly. Also Fabien. And when I came to Stuttgart, I asked him to play a game, and then I met him, and he was like talking about this idea he had.
Yeah.
Always.
Actually, these were two conversations. I mean, two important conversations. And the first one was like, I was like, okay, this guy's serious about it, and okay, this is a very, very good idea.
Yeah.
And then I was like, thinking about it. Oh, this is so much work. If we should really do this, it's like an incredible project. And then I came back, and he was like, I could like get into this. He showed me the mechanics, the very, very first mechanics of like placing those dice, and I was like, oh yeah, there's something to work with.
And then how does Fabien fit into? Because there's three of you all together, right? So there's the two of you, and then there's and then how does Fabien fit into the mix?
What?
Fabien was your partner at Woodpecker Games before Woodpecker Games did produce the tabletop terrain stuff. And he was already like having this idea for the board game like all the time, like even before I joined. And then when we met, like it was clear that it's really like happening now.
Yeah.
And we were like, I was like writing the first stories and like just trying to do the fictional stuff like a little bit out, like having a little narrative and stuff. And we had the first encounter made, and we were like, okay, this looks really good. And then we were playing this first encounter like for 1 million times, I think.
Yeah, to figure
at
out
some
stuff.
place we had the mechanics up and going, and then it was just work like for years.
So
Fabien, he's a player too, but his work is more in the background. He's not the guy who designs something. He liked to make all of this stuff, talk to
people with emails and like bookkeeping and the financial stuff.
He's a business guy.
Make the payment.
He's the business guy, or we want him to be the business guy.
We need this guy.
We need him to be the business guy.
So when I look at Nanolith, right? So it's best described as cyberpunk, right? Which looks super cool. And I know a lot of people love cyberpunk. Where did the idea initially come from? Like, what was kind of the genesis of the idea for this world you guys have created?
The genesis of the idea was that we want to create a world in there we can use magic in a way of cyber technology. And then we make that the nano machines are in the air and you can use them by controlling them, and that's totally magic.
Because you have to think the nanomachines are in your brain as well. They're in the earth, they're in the water, they're in the air. They're everywhere. In every person, in every device, like everywhere. And via your brain, you can control all these tiny machines everywhere on Earth and can do any effects. Like it's crazy. You can you have total creativity playground for awesome sci-fi, cyberpunk ideas and monsters and situations. And we built up like a very dystopian future model. Like there's this gigantic tower in the middle which holds the Nanolith, this strange alien cultural artifact which is organizing all the nanomachines in the city. Yeah. And they grabbed it after a big war from the Zulu, who were super peaceful and brought it to Earth and wanted to have a present for humanity. Yeah. And humans were just taking it from them, smashing this culture, embedding it in a tower, destroying the whole Earth, and now controlling the last city on Earth with an artificial atmosphere by a very, very evil company. Yeah. And then you wake up in this reality and are super powerful, like superhumanly powerful, and can control everything, and you're like the weapon against this whole society.
And I think the thing with the Nanolith as a symbol is like that I have to say I'm really influenced by Final Fantasy. And when you take a look at Final Fantasy, in the middle of Final Fantasy always is the legend of the crystals. You have these mighty crystals in Final Fantasy. You find them in the logos, you find them in the music, you find
they are all in different contexts. Also in the different games, they always appear, but they are just a red herring, but a very beautiful aesthetic.
Yes, awesome. And this and I want to create something like this crystal, something that you realize.
But ours is much cooler. I mean, think about an alien server technology thing in a tower. There's also places like something like the Metropolis movie or something, like really old science fiction themes.
And the thing with Babel, we have a Babel tower, and it was in this time when we're starting with Nanolith, I'm working as a church to recording some podcasts for a church, and I sit there and I listen what they say, and they talk about the Babel tower. I say, that's cool stuff for science fiction, and I really make my notes.
Oh, that's crazy. So this idea of magic, but it being kind of the technologies in the air. So you've got these molecules basically everywhere that are essentially nanobots. And so when you're trying to communicate and trying to do something, you're communicating to those nanobots that are everywhere and gives the appearance of magic. Is that fair?
You can I mean, think about it. I mean, you could manipulate with your brain, for example, the growth of a tree if you want to.
Oh, that's super cool.
I mean, the nanomachines could adapt to specific recessors of the tree. If you have if the technology is so much advanced that you don't even have to know how it works, just to have the Anwendungstechnologie.
That's cool.
You know how to use it, you could do anything.
It's a neat spin, right? So how do you take magic and put it into kind of a futuristic scenario? Well, you can do that by making it it's technology based. It's just the appearance of magic, but really it's technology.
I think it's mostly about, always in those old JRPGs, you always have the magic tag, like in the Final Fantasy. And it's not always, it's mostly about dealing damage, but it's also giving cool effects, like permutating the system mechanics and stuff like that. And you can really profile it to the characters, which is the most important thing. Magic is perhaps just a word. It's actually super cyberpunky and sci-fi because it's always, you can imagine it very well. regenerating nanomachines, regenerating your cells after you're hit or something are like a super technological picture, but they are very easy to understand.
Yeah, but I think about magic is something I think about when I think about magic. I'm free, I can do anything with magic, and I will create this feeling.
And we need this for the encounters because every encounter is like super unique.
Yes.
It has like a total new set of special rules and tactical appearances.
Yeah.
So we can use like super different settings, so to say, like not only aesthetically, but also like from a game mechanics standpoint, from the just tactical appearance of the encounter. It's super awesome.
We make something like that when you put in the nanomachines into your body. You create new one. You reparatur.
They repair themselves and they regenerate.
You put in you repair them, put it out, and the best is whenever you put inside nanomachines, they're making a backup of your body, of your things, of all of you,
of your unconsciousness,
of your unconscious. So all what you put in, and then all of you put out into air. So we have a cyber reality called the Nanoether. Ether is around the whole world, and it's
like our
psychedelic
cyberspace.
Psychedelic cyberspace.
It's very highly influenced by Carl Gustav Jung, like unconscious, like the idea of something which is like is building the basement for your little psyche. So you can really travel to memories. You like permutate stuff from your memories. You have to go to old places, but it's also that these things which are there can appear in reality. Like it's a double-edged sword. Think of like Stranger Things, like the portal thing. Like it's always
like Stranger Things.
there.
Or we have scenarios like you can imagine with Inception.
One is trapped inside the Nanoether and people have to get out and stuff.
So the story is quite immersive. I think that's pretty clear. The artwork, which I'm showing for people that are watching, is pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know if you guys did the artwork internally or if you contracted this out, but I mean, it looks awesome. Who did your artwork for you?
There's a lot of stuff.
But most of the stuff you're seeing on the website is made by Douglas Duarte.
Yes.
Like he's doing all the character illustrations. He did like the city map. He did like a lot of stuff in the encounter book and the storybook cover and stuff like this, and also like a lot of illustrations for the book. But
the storybook cover is not for him.
It
is. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, but like you see him a lot on the internet right now.
Yep.
But he's one of a team of illustrators which are working for us.
Super cool. So can you explain for people to help them understand, like, what's the basic essence of this game? Like, what are like, how do you play this game? So it's an RPG, right? And it's a dungeon crawler, I believe.
Yes. I make the opening. You can finished. For me, it was important. That was the first thing to what I say to Mark. I want to create a game where the character are based in the middle of the story. That's for me an RPG. RPG in the first line for me is that the characters and the story are in the front, and I deliver to the story, and I get all
structures are related to the story. Everything is going away from the story. Like the story, the idea which story we want to tell is like the main thing of any mechanic.
Yeah. We have 4 characters there are focused in.
And yes, everything happens directly to the player. Like it's as if you're playing a role-playing game, you are the character around all the story evolves. Like it has this old RPG vibe with really saving the world and being the center of the story. Yeah. So this was very important. Yeah.
So there's a storybook, and then there's, I think, an event book, right? And these two things work hand in hand, and it's like a choose your own adventure, right?
It's much cooler. Actually, I say this stuff in the window. Okay, so there are 2 books, like they're cross-referencing each other, but the main book is like the encounter book. It's the big one, like it's like an LP, like the old format of the LP, like 2 A4 parts, and then 2 of them. It's very big, and you have everything inside. It's your window. This is how you look into this world. It's like as if everything is happening in this book. You have like comics which are telling you stories. You have lobbies in which you enter big illustrations where you can interact with certain text things which are like just written there. You can just read it. Then you come to the encounters. You have everything there. If you enter a new area, you can go back to the city and enter new areas which are also pages on the book. You just turn the page, then you're there, and then you enter shops and stuff and different things. So this is the main idea. We don't want any like setup time, but we lead players through an open world thing via this visual component, which is the book. And there's happening like a lot of stuff.
And it plays 4. Is it 1 to 4 or is it 2 to 4 players? How many players?
It's 1 to 4 players. So there's an AI programmed into the game, which is like the solo play. It's always solo play in a way, because the AI is like the main thing which we are doing. This is like the heart and meat of the thing via specialist rules. Like coordinating what the AI is doing and how this expresses in regards to the characters. And there's a leveling aspect as well, but like this is the main thing. Yeah, it's in the book. It's playing against you. So 1 to 4 players.
And then with your player boards, one thing that really kind of pulled me in when I was looking through the materials and watching some of the playthrough videos was this mechanic. It's like there's dice drafting in this too, right? So you got dice manipulation, and then that allows you to activate certain things. I think that can you talk to us a little bit about that? That's for me, it was a little bit unique, kind of the way that was working with your RPG.
It's like all of these dices are the beautiful nanomachines into your body.
Oh yeah,
at the beginning of the character phase, you roll them and you see what the nanomachines have for you. But you can still manipulate them. You can make it +1, -1. Then you need them for things like
all actions.
All actions.
So
and
let me just interrupt shortly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the most important thing about this is, I mean, perhaps you know those games as, let's say, the Silver Tower release Warhammer Quest thing, where you put like a die and you activate with the number of the die and it needs to be high enough. I was like, this is super flawed, this system, because if you don't roll high enough, you have this pool in general, but the individual dice are not. If they are not okay, they are not okay, and you have a bad turn. Yeah. So we had like this. We needed quite a few dice, like 5, and then we are allowed to manipulate any dice each round, 1 number up or 1 number down, and this like makes you so much more efficient. And we have like skills which are like activated by certain dice patterns. So you have like to have doubles or triples or a row of dice, and then you can activate special abilities which you have like equipped. This is very important. This is you are also moving with these dice. You're activating on this base. So everything is done with these 5 dice. After you're done with 5 dice, the next one it's his turn and he's doing his 5 dice. And this is the character turn, like everybody doing his stuff. But the most important thing is like the stress part, if you have seen it.
Yeah, the stress indicator. So then that stress indicator is going up every time you're manipulating dice, is it? Or is it every time? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Every time you are manipulating 1 die, your stress gets 1 up. There's 2 more occasions every time you're rolling a 1. So everyone is also stressed as well. And then there are certain numbers on the player board. So every 2nd, 4th, and 6th and 8th dice, it's getting 1 up as well. So it's regulating itself. It's always like pounding. It's a timing process.
It's easy. You see it written on the player board.
It's super awesome. The best thing is, sorry, say.
You place
a cube on the player board, so you see
a dice, and then you get it. Yeah. But the thing is, these manipulating that shows really good the struggle of the world, how you struggle fighting into this world, because the stress gives you damage when the bar is full, but in the moment where you get stressed like that you get the damage because the nanomachine overheats, you unlock your real power, the power that is inside in you, and that's the nanoshock. Then you can release this great attacks like from Final Fantasy, like
limit attacks.
The samurai rush around, attack anyone in straight of line. You can hack.
Korra can just control enemies, like activate them, moving them around and let them attack each other. So it's really like permutating the system heavily.
Yeah, and the important thing is that the journey of the characters and the nanoshocks, it's close in the story, because that's why the characters in the middle of the story, because they have this potential to make this incredible stuff, but they don't know that because they have an amnesia, and they find out in the game how special they are.
Yeah, and let's go to this point just shortly. I want to leave something about nanoshocks. Yeah, I mean, you can like in some way, because if you're not manipulating your dice, you cannot like you don't get the stress so fast. So you can say how crazy you get, and it's the AI is like programmed quite heavily, so the enemies are pushing you quite hard, and they're spawning and activating in the same rounds. They just come and hack you. So you have to be really good in your turns. So you really want to get a lot of stress, and you get all those incredible nanoshocks. It really feels like superhuman rushing around, but you also get always damage when you get the nanoshock. So you're killing yourself while doing it, and the healer has a lot to do.
And now you have minis, I think, in this game as well, right? That I've seen. So there's going to be some minis as well.
There are 5 character minis as well. Yeah. So in the deluxe edition, you also get the minis, and but the game is mostly played with the acrylic standees. Also in the base pledge, there will be acrylic standees for the hero, so you will like always play.
These are acrylic standees, you're saying? Yeah.
Acrylic standees. Yeah. This is the idea behind it, because this looks really cool, and you can see through the standees on the map, so you see all the iconography on the map as well. It's also very good, and you don't have to paint it.
And it's like
Sorry, let him
Yeah.
finish.
So I want to say it. I want these minis. I want
Yeah,
these
me too.
4 minis. It was
He doesn't give it to me. I mean, I have the prototype here for weeks, and he doesn't give me the minis for doing the videos.
And then I say in the beginning, I say I want to have the characters as minis. I totally agree with the acrylic standees, but I love miniatures. I love miniatures.
We all love miniatures.
And I say, and that's the good way, because Mark and I can work together, because we are always have the same feelings. I say, Mark, we need minis. Just
please say, sure, we need minis.
Yeah,
we cannot do everything with minis because we'll be too expensive beforehand, but we can do at least the characters. So, yeah, it would be cool with minis, but acrylics and these other things.
What is the length of playtime for a game? So how long does a game last?
Actually, let me just say something. It's quite important that the combat encounters are only like half of the thing. Like you have an open world in which you are moving with the storybook, so you have
like
a lot of
legacy
story
can
to
go on.
discover. Yeah. It's legacy going on. There are 5 chapters, and each chapter explains like the background of the character, because very important, the characters have all amnesia. They don't know nothing about themselves.
Yeah.
And they wake up in this terrible future. And each chapter we describe like the history of this one character, and people from the past appear, and you have a big boss fight in the end. And you're moving around in an open world in which you have a lot of different lobbies to explore, different places to go with the big illustrations. So this is the other half, like this narrative. You also find like short stories, choose your own adventure short stories, which are not obligatory. You can just, if you don't want to read them, you can skip them, but there are also these kind of things. So this is half of it.
And then how does that impact the replayability when you have like these, obviously with legacy, sometimes that becomes an issue, right? You play it once and then it's like, okay,
totally valid point.
Yeah.
Totally valid point. It has the same replay value as Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
If you have a game which is totally awesome, you just play it again.
Yeah. And it's like the engine of replaying this game is maybe not that you find other parts.
I don't think the end game. It's not about the end game. Like,
no, it's not about the end game. But
60
the
hours
to
more
replay
like
this
random
game
stuff.
is the story.
Final Fantasy's first turn is always like you experience the story. If you're so into it, you want to see it again, you will have seen the story, but you can still play in this world if you want to.
Wow, super
cool.
So
yeah, this is the thing we were thinking about. This is what we want to do.
So this campaign comes out next week, and what's the plan? Be it like, obviously, the first objective is to get funded, get this guy at the door. But I imagine you're already probably thinking ahead as to kind of what's the next iteration. Is it going to stay in this world? Are you guys working on another game as a game company, or is Nanolith going to be kind of what's going to take up the time for the next foreseeable future?
I can say something.
Sure.
At the end of the game, we have 2 timelines, and we don't know which timeline we follow.
Yeah, actually, we were also thinking. I mean, there are 2 possible endings. Yeah, not to say too much, and those endings are very different. And actually, it would be like really awesome to have like people just sending us the answer to which ending they had, and then just have a vote for the next game in which world we want to place it. Actually, Nanolith will take our time for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
But new projects, I want to have a land crawling aspect to it, like a strategical way of like crawling over the land and have like another layer of game on top of it. Yep. But we need more time for it, and it will not come like tomorrow or something.
But certainly it will be within this universe, though, right?
Yeah. And we also think about a sequel to this. I mean, this thing is so awesomely expandable. There's so much stories to tell.
Yeah,
I can say the story feels like the end of humanity. You play in the end time of humanity, but it's the beginning of a whole universe.
Yeah, it's a turning point. It's the French Revolution or something.
Oh, that's super cool. Well, gentlemen, for people who want to follow along, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the show notes, right? So if they want to check out the campaign, head to the campaign page, hit the follow me button so that you're notified when these guys go live. Certainly, you can go to nanolith-world.com if you want to check out their website and see what the game is all about there. But certainly check it out on Kickstarter. Often just give them a little follow. Can sometimes help with the algorithms as well. So I'm sure they'd appreciate all the love and support that sent your way. If people want to follow you guys and your story, the Nanolith story, on social media, how best do they do that?
Facebook.
Totally.
We're posting most of the stuff.
And what's your handle?
Send us a friend, as friend Marc Schwämmlein and Maxvill, and
you friend us on Facebook as well.
So there is 0 listeners that are going to be able to pronounce or spell that. So why don't we go with Nanolith? Is there a Nanolith page?
Yeah, there's another page, another group, a Woodpecker Games page and a Woodpecker Games group. So just join us. I mean, the biggest one is Woodpecker minus games, the group. So I think it's Woodpecker Games or whatever. Yeah, Woodpecker Games, Nanolith. You will find us on Facebook.
Woodpeckergames.com, I believe, also has your social media handles there too. So if people go to that, they can find them easily.
You will find us.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, I want to wish you all the best of success of this campaign. It looks super awesome. I'm excited for you guys, man. The artwork is amazing. The story is the stuff I geek out over this stuff all the time. So you can definitely see the love you guys have put into this and the excitement and the energy you have around it. So all the best next week when you launch. I'll be watching this one for sure.
Awesome. Thanks.
Take care. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.